We're not only dealing with, as well as the idea of fanboys and girls, we're also dealing with this idea of, being 40-something years, one generation up out of Jim Crow, there are not a lot of African-American superheroes. Mm-hmm. So the thing that I carried in creating the show was, I can't ignore that. I had seen superheroes fighting in space, superheroes fighting in made-up worlds, but I was always wondering, why don't nobody take their ass down to Chicago and clean that up? We could use Batman down there, right? And so, in approaching the show and thinking about putting it on, I knew I had to address some of those issues, those real-world issues, because if I didn't, I would be those fanboys and fangirls, but also the African-American audience would call foul.
The liquor store just got robbed.
And I'm sure the description is what? A black man dressed in a suit and tie, getaway car, a mid-size Volvo wagon.
You have a good night, sir.
I had to listen to the quiet of my own head, my own mind, my own justice, my own sort of morality, and see what I could do with that. And when we opened up the show with our hero being pulled over by the cops with his daughters in the car, people were like, this isn't a superhero show. And we said, well, we'll show you. It'll be a different type of superhero. So when you talk about the fans, that was a whole different aspect of dealing with them that I was prepared for and was happy that they accepted the show. Because otherwise, my ass would have had to leave the country. I've always felt like I've worked in genre, because there was a time when if you did black television, that was considered a genre.
Yeah.
I remember when one of our shows got canceled, I was up to direct a pilot, and they looked at my resume and they said, but you've only done black shows. And I said, well, it's not like I'm directing animals. Shit, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm directing human beings telling stories. And I think with Mara especially, she's very much about promoting women and always been that way. And with me, I've just always wanted a diverse, because I think a diverse writing room and a diverse crew, because I think it adds to what you're doing, because you have all of this different energy walking around, and just hearing someone's accent may trigger something in your own creativity that make you say, oh, that it may be good if this came from a Latin perspective. So we've had that conversation for a while, and I hope, because the only way that these things will really changes if the conversations are going on, and showrunners and casting directors and people who honestly want to see some sort of change.
Well, at the Oscars, Frances McDormand brought up the idea of inclusion writers. Is that something you think would be actually possible at any of your companies or any of your shows, or something actually in writing about having more diverse?
No, I personally, I wouldn't put it in writing, because I've been doing it so long that, it's like almost, to me, it would be an insult for me to have to write something down. I've been doing this, and so I think if anybody were to come to me, they would come to me and say, how do you do this? Because we've been doing it. I don't think people, and I also don't think people should be forced, because if it's forced, it's not gonna work. If it's not part of your heart, if it's not a part of you as a person, then I think you should shy away from it, because it's going to change.
I don't know that
it's going to change.
Though.
Well, you're changing it. Ava's changing it. I'm going to help change it. I mean...
But just think about the DGA, for those of you who are directors. The DGA put into place that, every show had to hire 2 women, and the attitude about that was just horrific. I mean, in the executive suite, it's like, oh God, we got to get the chick in there, and she's going to suck, and all that. But I think that helped female directors get some experience under the belt, some credits under the belt. So I do. I know. I just
every
the women
program that I've ever sort of heard about, it's just to your point. It's just a program for corporate America to be able to say we have a program. Whereas I think showrunners and showrunners, the people who actually hire, are the change makers. They're gonna. If you hire someone, you're making change.